right, welcome to round 5, everyone. We've got Kroge at the bottom of your screen. We got wsgRon at the top. Let's take a look at these hands.
So just real quick, looking at the list, one thing that's also different is Ron's playing 4 Watchwing support while Kroge is only playing 2. So how big the units are can change very quickly. But and Ron doesn't have any flash fries, so that makes Kroge's reappropriators better.
That's pretty
In
pretty
terms of how the
good.
game's, yeah, sorry.
No, I was saying that was pretty good turn 3 for Ron there, being able to take out that real driver Valkyrie before it could kind of get any value from pinging that 1 damage.
Yeah, just being up a card there is huge, but Kroge felt very inclined to play their Valkyrie Warp to force the sort of answer instead of playing Exploit and maybe getting ahead in cards. But you know, it's ball's definitely in. Let's see, is the ball being in someone's court good or bad? I forget now. The balls are, yeah, it's in Kroge's court because Kroge needs to figure out how to kind of come back here. So Ron has kind of the setup that I described. The 2 Valkyries with a relic weapon is kind of the perfect setup. So all your Valkyrie warp is turned on, and you're able to just off things for free.
Here we go, and you're seeing that right now. And they're sticking a Linax Molten Wing here. The person that sticks that card's in pretty good shape too. Kroge here is gonna go with 5. They're gonna play that Hellfire Valkyrie out, which is pretty nice. That's gonna at least temporarily put a stop sign on wsgRon. But Ron does have a Silver Slicer on top of the deck. And this is going to be
Yeah,
so
so
good because you can warp it to give it quick draw, but then you also deal the damage thanks to the Molten Wing and then can kill it. That's great.
you can say Ron got lucky. Ron also didn't Valkyrie warp any of the previous turns. So like if you view it as a sample over time, this is actually running closer to average, which is kind of interesting. Run's also playing a much lower to the ground deck. They have more 2 drops. They're playing the Battle Master and, like I said, the extra Watchwing supports. While Kroge is playing a little bit of the higher end Valkyries, like the Hellfire Valkyrie, and that was their ticket back in. Like that could have just changed the whole game potentially, if the sickle silver slicer, not sickle, wasn't Valkyrie warped and it was just another blank on top, then we might have been able to eat the stone hammer and just
This
kind of
just
start chip back into it.
is this just game here? I think with the overwhelm on the weapon, you can play it, kill 1, overwhelm will do the damage, yeah, and that's just going to be game. Wow.
Yep.
I had to double check that real quick, but I was looking at it while you were talking. And I was like, I think that might be it.
Yeah, I was trying to sneak it in as soon as possible because
No
I knew it was
worries.
over. But
Yeah, I was using.
yeah,
I don't know if that was real math or fake math I was using there, but I was trying to sneak in some math.
I used real math on that one. I'm ashamed to say it, but I did use real math.
Real math, fake
Um,
math, new math, old math. There's all kinds of math here.
all right, can we get Ron's deck list up? It was
Yes,
definitely humming there.
we can for sure.
Awesome.
Let me get that one. One
All
second.
good. But one thing that's also interesting is the market that's here. So being able to play Lava Burst and Dehem Blitz and different like late game elements with your Grafter market. Here we actually see the Flash Fry and Slag, so some cheaper elements in this Rust Grafter market. So Ron's build slightly different, a lot more lower to the ground, which is cool because it means you can chain more Valkyrie warps more often. So there's a lot more Valkyrie warps going on by playing the Battle Master, by playing 4 Watchwing supports. And I think one edge Ron has is instead of having just innately powerful late game cards in like Hellfire Valkyrie that are relative to the cost and the stats printed on the card, by playing Battle Master and the maximum of Watchwing supports, just all your cards just become supercharged if you're able to get them online.
All right. Well, they're jumping into game 2. Kroge keeping a hand with 3 power and exploit, 2 copies of Lord Stairs Tower, a rail driver, and a 4th power there at the start of the turn. But
Yeah,
Ron's going to get to
so
go E on the play and go first, and they're going to fire off an exploit first.
mhm.
Exploit the exploit, or exploit one of those sites?
I think with how your hand is situated, hmm, yeah, it's like kind of interesting. I think I actually would have just taken the Valkyrie or one of the sites.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard to say,
It's always
but
awkward, like taking a site because you want to take that, but then like they have a backup one, so it's like if you're really accomplishing that much. Oh, and there's another
mhm.
one off the top of the deck.
One thing to note with Ron's line though is he like they're kind of announcing like, hey, I'm gonna exploit you because I want to take advantage of the times that you only have 1/2 drop in your hand. Turns out exploit and the battle driver or whatever it's called was like in hand,
Hmm.
so you couldn't cut them off of all 2 drops because
Right.
normally you want to play your 2 drop that you can try and Valkyrie warp any drops. So kind of putting an emphasis of like, hey, I have a slight like tempo advantage because I'm on the play and this is how I'm going to utilize it. Might end up coming back to haunt Ron though, because with all these sites, Kroge actually has the advantage over time, and Ron wasn't able to fully utilize the advantage to being on the play.
Ooh, look at this play. Interesting. So Crow's choosing to warp the Deathwing for 3 instead of playing one of the towers for 4. Now
Yeah,
they do know about the reckless on the Valkyrie there, but that's interesting. A little less choosing to be less power efficient in order to accomplish what?
yeah, just have more cards to do more things over time.
Mhm.
So with all these sites, you're kind of just saying I can outcard you, which is true in the games where Ron doesn't use a bunch of Watchwing supports or the Battle Master.
So it's more about the card advantage, the warp value off of that, kind of drawing a dig deeper into the deck, get more card advantage to out card advantage Ron over time.
Right, and then also like if you ever get the Deathwings Valkyrie Warp trigger onto say like Reappropriator, that's just super big game, very difficult for Ron to be able to deal with, even if they do end up assembling very powerful units. So once again, Kroge's advantage is each individual card is kind of better than Ron. I understand this is a pseudo mirror, but looking at the cards that are different and how they play.
Mhm.
So when Croach just plays more cards, it's usually good. But Ron's kind of takes advantage of the synergy and hoping to be able to kind of Exodia up one big unit and stuff like that.
Sure, makes sense. Thank you so much, Yellow Hands, for the raid. Welcome everyone from Yellow Hands stream. Appreciate it. And now Crow's going to take that exploit, and that's going to be well timed because that's going to get that Sanguine Reaper that Ron was going to be able to play out next turn. So, unfortunately for Ron, that was a clutch card that they wanted to play thanks to that Rustcrafter. But Crow is going to steal that with a well timed exploit. Now, going to play out another Stonehammer here, but going to get some nice plunder value there.
Yeah, kind of in a dicey situation. Like you're kind of just pitching the power and your Stonehammer, and you're just gonna run into this battle driver, the 1/3 or rail driver. Okay, sorry, rail
Mm-hmm.
driver. That's what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of just sacking two units. But Ron just understands that they need to dig more into their deck. It's kind of what you sign up for. This game's not getting any better for me, so I just gotta get more cards out there. And that's actually a pretty good draw that
It
combos
is,
with
yeah.
Arbalest.
Yeah.
You have to keep in mind that whatever decision Croge is going to make this turn knows that the card in hand is the Arbalest
Well,
due
Croge
to
is
the
able to ultimate that site, so I think this is only the first or maybe second time we've seen this tonight. But here comes that Rhoda, and that's going to be tough for Ron. Now, they do have the Molten Wing plus the weapon, so it's not impossible to deal with. But Croge, as we know, has backup copies. I guess Ron knows it too, has backup copies of Lord Stayer's Tower, so going to fire off the second copy here. And unfortunately for Ron, not really in a great position to do much about it. All their units are basically blanked, and now the Rhoda here is pretty good. But I think
right.
the Arbalest, unfortunately, because of the well, actually, can trade off. Can still trade off the Arbalest, right? Because
Yeah,
playing it will do the 4 damage, and then using it, so gonna lose the weapon, but we'll be able to take out the Rhoda there.
right.
Or just
Still,
take out the tower. Interesting. Okay. So the damage can go anywhere. So taking out the tower with the trigger and then just the small rail driver Valkyrie with the weapon, ignoring the Rhoda for
yeah.
now.
So I really like this line from Croge because you kind of get to set up this board state where, okay, if you do trade off like the ping from the whatever the 3 drop line X, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do trade off the ping plus the Arbalest for the Rota, then like you have no units that can attack and play, and you don't really have good ways to pump them either. So I'm just gonna be able to make another Rota. And then if you answer my Lord Styre's Tower, then I want you to have a neutralized board because then I just have this Rota and playing is the biggest, baddest thing around. So once again, just playing to this advantage of my average card's better than yours. You don't have any of your engine or like get ahead mechanics other than hopefully Valkyrie Warp, or from your point of view, Valkyrie Warp.
Mm-hmm.
But 6/6 is just so big when there's no Watchwing support shenanigans going on.
That's true. It's good analysis there. And then Hellfire Valkyrie as well, just keeping up that play, like you said, the average play for Kroge being just a little bit better. And Ron's not really drawing anything, but to your point, just playing out that I'm gonna play for the late game. I'm gonna play bigger things every turn and try to keep you off your synergies.
Yeah,
Let's head
so
back to Ron's deck again because we didn't get too much of a chance to talk through that one while they go to their game 3.
Yeah, so you've kind of gotten to see two different games there. So one of them is, once again, the innate power of each individual card in Kroge's deck, and then sometimes you get the Valkyrie Warp synergies. Ron's saying, not only do I like Valkyrie Warp synergies, but I'm going to do it even more than the other Valkyrie Warp decks. And, their best plays on turn 2 have like a lot of range to it, where they have more 2-drops here, where they're able to maybe on turn 4 just Valkyrie Warp two drops in a row. So kind of building a curve around Valkyrie Warp. Like when you do it this much, you can't even be sad when your opponent has the perfect Valkyrie Warps because they built their deck to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's a good point. All right. Ron looking at a hand of Exploit, Rail Driver, Valkyrie, Tower, and 4 power. Kroge has got a couple 3-drops and the big 5-drop.
So we see this again where Ron is prioritizing exploiting to potentially pick off a 2-drop. The thing is, it is true that Kroge does also have Flashfry in their deck. So if you have Reappropriator, it makes sense to play the exploit because you want to take a Flashfry. That way your Reappropriator just checks every play that your opponent can play. But the problem is you're also not playing your own Valkyrie that turn, which makes it so that way you can't Valkyrie Warp a turn sooner. So you're just making, like, you built your deck to do this Valkyrie Warp thing, but you're not able to take advantage of it. But kind of maybe understand the dynamics of the matchup, the fact that Kroge doesn't have as many 2s. So when you are able to exploit their 2s, maybe viewing that as a large enough advantage is what I could be missing.
Yeah, I like that analysis. What you're seeing here, I know you're not seeing it on screen, which is kind of funny, but Kroge firing off an exploit, deciding what to take from WSG's Ron's hand. It's kind of funny that we don't see it on the screen, but that's what's going on here. And then deciding on their plunder decision, not going to plunder anything, and is going to take the Lord Stayer's Tower, keeping the Rail Driver Valkyrie. WSG Ron's going to play out that Valkyrie, but kind of to your point, playing it out on turn 3 now instead of turn 2. And the Deathwing, one of those Nighthawks coming out for Kroge, and Arbalest the draw here for WSG Ron. And that's going to be a pretty good answer to the Deathwing.
Yeah, so not only is it a good answer to Deathwing, but it also plays around a potential Reappropriator.
It does, yep.
By being 4 cost. And the Warcry is also just no slouch, so whatever unit you're going to draw, almost all of them have Valkyrie Warp, so they're going to be a lot better.
And Silver Slicer going to swap out one weapon for another to take out the second copy of Deathwing. So now Kroge has the Hellfire Valkyrie and the Reappropriator, but things have been going pretty well for Ron there. Now here comes the Hellfire Valkyrie. Unfortunately, Ron getting a little bit flooded here. 6 power with a 7th power in hand. Kroge going to draw another Rail Driver here after the Hellfire Valkyrie. Attacking in, drawing a card, and getting a power. Free power.
One thing that's good about, the Hellfire Valkyrie is that by being able to draw a card, you can also Valkyrie Warp more often because you're kind of like clearing the top of your deck.
Yeah, good call. And the Warcry that you mentioned did come up into play here. Look at that, making the Arbalest a 4-attack weapon, and that's going to take out the Hellfire Valkyrie. So, yeah, you called it again. Sage Watchwolf calling up the relevant plays here.
Yeah, card games are actually a lot easier when you can predict the future. Sorry, the secret say.
That's how you got to Worlds, I see.
Yeah. Oh, if you saw how lucky I got, you would know that that's true. So this Rust Grafter, how big is it? 3/3. Okay, 3/3. So 3/3 is pretty cool because it's large enough such that any 4/4 is better, obviously, but like any non-Silver Slicer just doesn't pair up that well for Kroge against this.
Yeah.
And the Wise Junkyard.
It's a pretty good draw there.
That's a really good pickup because Ron gets back 2 and 2 from that, so you get like 2 Arbalists if you want.
And a Molten Wing as
And
well was the draw here. I think the Junkyard's probably the better play, yeah. But 4/4 Linex Molten Wing is not a bad draw.
yeah, that's actually something that I failed to know that's really cool in deck construction. So I touched on it, but the difference in their markets. So Kroge's market complements the fact that they have a bunch of individually good cards. So naturally, you put in some like situationally good cards in your market. What Ron is allowed to do is they're so focused on Valkyrie Warp and being lower to the ground that they just get to play like very specific things. Like they play the Flash Random Market, or they get to play this huge like get ahead mechanic.
Yeah, so two very similar decks, but two totally different approaches there. It's interesting.
Yep.
So actually, the site's going to go down here, but Ron already got the value out of that. Being able to just basically restock their hand with gas was really good for Ron. But Kroge able to answer it, which is important.
Gas, gas, gas. I'm gonna step on the gas.
I'm curious, Watchwolf, what type of math was it that allowed you to come to the conclusion that a 4/4 is better than a 3/3?
Fake math. It's always fake math.
Gonna plunder away to get another treasure trove, but unfortunately it's gonna be another power. But as you mentioned, that's not always bad. You are clearing the top of your deck for potential further Valkyrie Warp shenanigans. All right, this is an interesting one too. You got the 4 power, which you can't see on the screen as a Battlemaster Cataxius. I guess you can see it now.
Wow.
But a Warp Cataxius off the top for Ron, and that's going to be pretty good, along with other things. That Smuggler Stash was really powerful. It just completely...
So you get to play the Arbalest now, and all your weapons get...
Yeah, so how does it read? When
like,
you play a relic weapon,
and...
each weapon in your deck gets its battle skills and +1/+1. So yeah, every weapon will get Warcry and +1/+1.
Wow.
All right, but talk about warp value. You've got a Lord Stairs Tower and the Molten Wing here.
This is actually super exciting. So, like, sure, Kroge is getting a little bit more Valkyrie Warp than Ron, but at the end of the day, we're actually seeing, like, this is the perfect game where both of them are doing what their decks kind of designed. So, Kroge here, we saw them play the Hellfire Valkyrie, which dug them a little bit deeper, which ultimately allowed this Lord Stairs Tower to happen this turn. We see Ron getting paid off for how they built their market around the fact that they're a lot lower to the ground, so it can allow for a chain of really cheap Valkyrie warps, or there's more Valkyrie warp options to happen. So we get to see how kind of the top of the deck's kind of better for Ron, but each card is innately more powerful for Kroge, and we're just gonna go at it.
It's pretty incredible there. And now everything getting, as we mentioned, with the Cataxius, but the shrinkage is real for Ron. Kroge, every unit is basically useless now for Ron. It can chump block, but it can chump block and it can Valkyrie Warp, but that's about it. I guess the Rail Driver Valkyrie, that's just an ultimate, so it can't play that again. That's already been used.
How big is that Arbalest? The Arbalest?
The Arbalest in hand is a 2/6 right now, so it'll get a 4/6 when it gets played.
Oh wow!
And now
Warp the treasure. Yeah. Wow.
Now Warped Deathwing for Kroge as well, and that is going to trigger as well. So now the top weapon of the deck gets Deadly and Lifesteal, and if that's the Silver Slicer, being able to get Quick Draw and Deadly would be pretty good as well.
So that's also really good sequencing from Kroge. So they chose to play the Treasure Trove, wait 3 seconds, and then see that they had a Valkyrie Warp card that they could play. Some people would play the 3-drop in hand and then play Treasure Trove and then be like, oh my god, I got so unlucky that I can't Valkyrie Warp this. But Kroge's playing to those outs of being able to Valkyrie to warp appropriately.
I'm going to start off with the blueprints, but sitting on top of Ron's deck is a Lord Stairs Tower. So are we going to see, there we go. Let's warp it right back. And I think we might see the shrinkage on this side as well. Start off with those Valkyrie and then shrink down Kroge's board so that board can't do anything.
Wow. Yeah, this is what I want in our last match. Are they both 3-1? Is this like 4? Is this for everything?
I think this is 3-1. Let me just double check, but I believe both these players are 3-1.
This is great. It's fine. I'll keep up. It's funny
because both players are 3-1.
It's funny because I actually don't particularly like gummed up mid-range board states because I feel like usually people have done stuff to prevent them from happening. But this is like everything's happening on all cylinders. I love seeing like the Valkyrie warps, and it's just a good old slugfest. Just boxing gloves, just punching each other in the face the whole time.
Well, I will say that warping things off the top of the deck, I think, gives a little bit of spark to mid-range mirrors grindfest when you get to just see things. See that top deck value is pretty exciting. All right, 2
Yeah.
copies of Linax Molten Wing though for Kroge, as well as that Rota. So it's gonna be they can pack a lot of damage off of those Linaxes, and those Linaxes can go face as well. So those can do a lot of damage in a hurry with 2 of those out.
Yeah, like Ron is kind of just one. Like if any relic weapons warped, it's either the Silver Slicer, which will have deadly because of the Deathwing warp,
Mm-hmm.
or it's the artillery, which has overwhelm and
Oof.
deadly. So
Oof.
both of those are just lethal,
Yeah.
or like pseudo lethal, maybe.
All right, now we see out the Deathwing and then the Arbalest here. It's going to go after the 3/3. So let's take one of those Molten Wings off the board. That'll save a little bit of damage potentially here.
Really good move there. I would have liked to see an attack with the Stonehammer first because maybe you can do some unintuitive play. But besides that, just yeah, utilizing that weapon, knowing that the line axe is really how this game ends in a hurry, and you want your own Rota down as soon as possible.
Looking at the market here because Kroge does have the Rust Grafter that can go to the market.
All right, so let's see if they could get paid off for how they built their market.
Lots of interesting choices here.
Yeah, uh, I'm not even sure which one's the best. I I think it might be cremate, but it can really be anything, even a boat.
You beat me to it.
Like so my thought is you still might be able to rule the sky with just Rota and Linax, and you could just attack with those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Crow's just taking the approach that if I just have another flyer, then the Deathwing only trades with one, and my quantity of flyers is higher. Probably just thinking if I want to attack the Rota and Linax. My thinking with the cremate is that you can just
You can stop the
cremate
yeah,
the.
cremate the site.
Oh, you don't have enough power to do that, but you would just kill the Rota, and then Rota's still bigger than Rota
Sure.
or Linax is still bigger than anything
I
else.
killed the other one, yeah.
So go for another threat instead of an answer to the 6/6,
Mm-hmm.
which at the end of the day is kind of just similar. I just wanted to get cremate because it's less power, so it allows you to say Valkyrie Warp at 3 and then play cremate if they're effectively the same card.
All right, so are we seeing is that the yeah, that's the heirloom. So Archboard heirloom. Pay 7 and sacrifice the heirloom to draw 2 units and give them Aegis and Endurance. So getting back the Deathwing and the Linax Molten Wing, 2 pretty solid units to get back. Can't deploy them out this turn, but next turn potentially getting back for wsgRon.
Yep. So then here you're offering the trade with the Rota. There's an amount of, you know, optionality where you can just chump block with something. You could say,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I can off your Rota and get in a clean hit here, but
Ooh, but look at
you only
this
draw
road
3
of
cards.
value. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
And there's the Sickle Slicer, but it won't have quick draw because we drew it.
That's true. It'll deadly and lifesteal, but it will not have quick draw. But still, drawing 3 cards, not too shabby. 2 copies of Molten Wing. Now, man, Ron could really use a weapon here because you've got 2 big copies of Molten Wing here. And play out that 4/4, so both of these units again have Aegis and Endurance. Now Warcry's adding up. They've had what, 3 attacks, 4 attacks here with that? Watchwing Support sitting on top. Gonna draw a couple cards, 2 copies of Watchwing Support and a third. So that's Trip's Watchwing Support off the top of Ron's deck. Drew 2 and a third one on the top.
Yeah, I told my team that they have to stop calling this card WW support. I just think I'm helping everyone.
I mean, you are. Last time you commentated, you just gave someone the trophy. So
Yeah.
forgot to tell you that was against the rules to just give someone the win when you commentate.
Yeah, but maybe it's happening here too. Maybe the people that play Watchwing support will get the trophy and they deserve it.
There you go. Report from the back tables, by the way. Number 1 player, Apple Chips, going to stay number 1 with the number 1 seed going 5-0 tonight. So impressive so far by Apple Chips. We'll see if they can hold on. If they go all the way, that's a 5th wildcard slot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Apple Chips knows how to lose. I haven't seen him for some time. Okay, so we're seeing yet another, like, it's just kind of interesting. Both players are trying to keep their rotas around and trying to see if they can dump their hand, but it's been Kroge that's been able to refuel. Like, who needs Dragon Eye when you can just draw 3 cards because your opponent can't play out their whole hand every turn? Trip Watchwing support. Oh man, we're gonna get a spicy mamma jammer out there.
Rip
I'm
Watching
looking.
Support. Here it goes. Wow. I guess these things are gonna get big.
Yeah, Kroge actually doesn't do too well against a big unit.
All right, now let's
Like,
let's keep it going. Now we're gonna draw two. Battlemaster Cataxia sitting on top, and I told you it was coming. Look at that in hand. 17-15 reappropriator. Woo. And that can
yeah,
steal. That can steal the weapon here.
wow, that's
17-15 is
huge.
pretty big. All right, attacks coming in for Kroge. Attacking face. You've got 6 coming in the air, and then 3 Rustcrafters for another 6 on the ground.
So, this isn't like news to a bunch of people, but if there's anything I love, it's building your deck to be very, low to the ground, very cost efficient. Like how Ron has a bunch of 2 drops and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like more than the normal deck would play. But then being able to tussle in the late game by assembling a bunch of 2 costly cards in these Watching supports, and then just have something that's bigger than any individual card you would ever put in your deck.
Yeah.
Like I really appreciate that, and it's how I build all my like aggressively oriented decks to be good early, good late. So I'm just loving this.
2 cards drawn off of that Rhoda for Kroge, Hellfire Valkyrie, and a Rail Driver Valkyrie, the draws. But here comes that 17-15 reappropriator. Let's steal a relic.
Yeah,
Now we've got that slicer.
seems
Oh.
appropriate to me, but just like refried beans, it's gonna be doubly appropriate.
Doubly appropriate. And that's going to take care of that Rota. And dare I say that wsgRon has stabilized here. The biggest thing on the board, took out Kroge's card advantage, took out the engine, now has the board.
Yeah. So another tower, but yeah. So with the blueprints, it's going to be very difficult. So even if you can answer this reappropriator, you can use the blueprints, like the heirloom or whatever it's called,
Yep.
to get back the reappropriator. But that gives it void bound.
It does,
Okay,
yeah.
so
The cremate gives the reappropriator void bound. All right.
oh my god,
Reappropriator down for good.
should have just been buried instead of cremated.
All right, attack in.
Wow.
Kroge keeping the aggression on. Double attacking with the stone hammers here. A lot of damage coming through. Ron is only at 13.
Yeah, so
So Ron
it
can
just
put the
depends
4/4 in
on.
front of this 2/1 if he wants.
Yeah,
Take 8
that's
from
true.
this though.
So Ron's gonna need a good draw, but since they played the blueprints, the top card of their deck has +6/+6.
It does. How about a silver slicer? How about an 11-10 Warcry?
Yeah,
Warcry weapon.
that's pretty big game. Too
Yeah.
bad we couldn't give it deadly, but
Yeah, I can't give it
or
deadly, but that's pretty
quick
good.
draw or a quick draw, but
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 two.
but the next the next thing in our deck will have it.
The next one. Yeah,
Oh
so
my god.
2 Cataxias. And actually, because of this, remember the 3 damage, it does have a Molten Wing out, so going to be able to deal 3 damage to something as well.
Yep. And we can still crack the blueprints this turn to make our next turn guaranteed to be awesome.
Man, what a match. Wow. All right, going to use the Lineaxe trigger to take care of the big Passionate Stonehammer. So Stonehammer down. Then going to use the Silver Slicer to take care of one of the Rust Crafters. So Kroge is down to 2 useless units and a Rust Crafter.
Man, I wish this was the finals now. Like the finals can still be great, but this is just awesome. Like I can't believe how much awesomeness is happening.
Oh man, and then attack phase for 4. But Kroge isn't out of gas either. Kroge has a tower, a Hellfire Valkyrie, a Rail Driver Valkyrie, and a Flash Fry.
So real interesting there. So does it cost 7 to use that thingy? The heirloom? Oh, it costs 7, sorry.
7.
I thought it cost 6. Okay.
7.
My
Correct.
bad. That makes way more sense. I think stabilizing the board with this relic weapon's important, especially because you get to off 2 things this turn. But so we're I guess at this point we're used to seeing Lord Styre's Tower warped, Valkyrie warped. But since you just normally play this one, you don't actually get to turn the tide of the whole game right away. So
Oh boy.
yeah,
This
and
Rust
then
Grafter can
activating the
also.
grafter.
Yeah, this Grafter can still go to the market. Forgot about that. Let's see. We've got
So
Lava Burst. We've got Furnace Mage. Furnace Mage is pretty good
I
because
like
that can kill the Slicer.
this was the game where the White's Junkyard was played, right? I'm pretty sure. Or Was it? It would be in WSG Ron's Void if they played already. I'm just curious, like how good this. Yeah, they played it. It's one page back.
Yeah.
Um,
The six
so
furnace.
I'm just curious how good this furnace mage is, and it's really good because there's no other way
Oh
to
my
get it back.
goodness. What a
Oh
10,
yeah,
11 Flying Dead Leather Lifesteal. That's also, if this is able to connect with anything, that's going to get Ron out of life danger as well, because it's 10 attack lifesteal here. Whew.
wow. Okay, so the the funny part is like at some point, oh geez. So there's no other efficient way for Kroge to answer this now 6 power creature, or sorry, 6 strength unit.
Yep.
And then we have this Furnace Mage where you kind of want to answer the heirloom, but you kind of also want to answer this weapon.
Yeah, going to
So
take
the
out the
question is like,
weapon.
so you really need to ask yourself, how do I win this game? And I actually think the best way for Kroge to win this game might just be a bunch of like line X's into like a rail driver or something like that. Or somehow getting deadly and Valkyrie warping a silver slicer. Like that's the best way you're able to answer these bigger units.
All right, here comes another Molten Wing, and here's a painting now. But as you mentioned, Ron still does have this heirloom, but going to have to be for 7 for that. All right,
Yeah, it's
another
just
copy of
looming
Hellfire
over the match.
Valkyrie. So 5/5 Decay flying and a 4/4 flying for Kroge. They're going to play out the 5/5 flying Decay one. Is 5/5 better than a 4/4? Just checking your math here.
Fake Met says yes.
All right, good. Just confirming here. I like
Yeah,
how Kroge just kept
it's always
attacking
tough.
through all this too.
Okay, this is actually pretty good. You might be able to induce a block with So if you just decrease the amount of units in play, you make your ground units a lot better.
That is true.
Like they're gonna have to block at some point.
Ron down to 3 units and exploit the draw. But we're gonna go first with that heirloom.
Finally. So we can I don't think we
Finally.
have anything big, but we have some decent like anything with ages is good.
Yeah. So gonna grab back a Deathwing and a Stonehammer. Deathwing coming
Definitely
down.
big game.
Well, warped heavy
There's a rail
artillery off
driver.
the top for Kroge.
Or yeah, that one. I,
Pretty
I just
good.
make up names to these cards at this point. I know rail driver's the other card, but
Right.
oh, it makes a rail driver.
It
That's
does.
why.
Yeah, it does make a rail driver
I
off of the
I
top.
just knew I associate this card with a rail driver and couldn't figure it out.
But this 6/11, it does still have lifesteal, and it's bigger than everything else on the board. I guess you could attack your decay units into it, and that's fine. But
I like drawing the card to see if you can Valkyrie warp. All right, I need a deck count. How many cards are in both?
all right, let's
Both
see. Kroge is still at 33, 33, 39. So we've still got plenty in both.
Yeah, that should be about like 2 more hours, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I do have to check round time here in a minute, but this one is looking pretty good. Ooh,
Oh
free
no,
reappropriate off the
no!
top.
I cancel round time. We're going all the way.
Free reappropriator here off the top. Let's do it. And what are we?
Stealing Watchwing support is
Sure.
huge.
Steal a Watchwing support.
Oh, they're stealing my support. Watchful support.
The Watchwolf support has been stolen. No
Well, they
Valkyrie
both
Warp.
have two. Yeah,
It's
now
true.
it's a fair game.
It's a fair fight here. We're gonna start off with an exploit, and I imagine we're gonna see a plunder on that sigil, try to draw something, and more importantly, try to open up the top of that deck to get some Valkyrie Warp going. Fire sigil
Yeah,
off the
so
top.
actually,
No Valkyrie
I
Warp.
like holding onto the Stonehammer until you draw a sigil. That way you can Valkyrie Warp.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so
There you
this
go, and it
play
worked.
is,
Well, kind of worked. Ward
well,
tower up on the
so,
top.
right. So this play is unintuitive, but when you have 4 power, you don't have the most amount of Valkyrie Warp 2s left. So you actually want to save it. You have enough power that you should wait for next turn to maximize like how your Valkyrie Warps are weaved. So you know that your next card isn't a Valkyrie Warp.
Right.
So you should just draw it and then see if that's a Valkyrie Warp and then go from there. So unintuitive play. And sometimes you do it the other way. Like maybe you're behind enough on board that you're just trying to train through your deck, but
Oh, this is good looking good for Kroge. They were able to warp a Silver Slicer with Quick Draw, taking out wsgRon's biggest unit, that 3/2 Stonehammer. Now Kroge can attack. Ron has that Lord Stairs Tower off the top, but these attacks are going to be pretty good for Kroge. Deadly's still going to take care of one of those Valkyrie, but big reappropriator still out there, and now the Deathwing is a -4 thanks to that decay. No more Valkyrie Warp off the top for Ron, so we're just going to see a tower here, but
I can't believe this Deathwing was like a 9/11 or something like that. And
oh, and now a heavy artillery with overall 13-9 heavy artillery off the top, and that's just going to be game. Kroge going to close it out with a big overwhelm attack. Boom, that's it. Wow, what a match.
Would you say that card did some heavy lifting?
I would. Bringing out the artillery here to win that one. Well done, Kroge. Well done, wsgRon. Fantastic match, both of you. That was so exciting to see.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's go home. Someone can win.
Well, we got top 8, so let's take a breath. We're going to